Good evening, everyone. I'm Kate Walsh, the editor-in-chief of Hudson Valley Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to the 9th annual Hudson Valley Magazine Women in Business Awards, where we honor the region's top female executives, entrepreneurs, nonprofit, and government leaders. I'm sorry to say that I can't look out and see a room full of people at our annual awards luncheon, but I'm so very happy that we can continue this tradition of honoring women who have made impacts in their fields and communities and served as mentors for the future women in business. This year we have 17 honorees representing many industries, including healthcare, hospitality, retail, the arts, food and drink, and publishing. And now I'd like to introduce New York State Senator Sue Serino, one of the staunchest supporters of women in business in our region.
Hi, I'm Senator Sue Serino, and I'm so grateful for the Hudson Valley Magazine for inviting me to recognize these incredible trailblazing women. As a small business owner myself, I have always loved participating in this event and meeting women from the Hudson Valley who are excelling in their own fields. While things may look different this year, I'm thrilled that we still have the opportunity to recognize these powerhouse women, many of which I've had the pleasure to get to know and to work with. These past few months haven't been easy, and they've been especially trying for our small businesses and nonprofit community. You've had to adapt in so many ways on such short notice, and you have done it with such grace and grit. Small businesses are the backbone of our community and truly make the Hudson Valley what it is today. Congratulations to all of the women being honored here today, and thank you for all that you do for our community.
Thank you, Sue. And now I'd like to take a few moments to thank our sponsors. Our gold sponsor, Nuvance Health, and now a brief message from Nuvance.
We believe promise means making connections. It's all about finding people who care for you and about you. This is where relationships move healthcare forward. Nuvance Health.
And our silver sponsors, Emerson Resort and Spa, Jacobowitz and Gubitz LLP. I'd also like to thank our bronze sponsors, Caramount Medical and Cabot Creamery. And by the way, everyone who registered for this event will be receiving a free sampler from Cabot. I'd also like to thank our gift bag sponsors, Central Hudson, Hudson Hall at the historic Hudson Opera House, Marion Salon and Spa, and Third Eye Associates. And a special thank you to our video sponsor, Enormous Creative. Please be sure to visit our sponsors' virtual booths and also visit the virtual gift bag for great offers from our sponsors. And now I am so very happy to introduce our keynote speaker, actor, director, producer, and writer, Mary Stuart Masterson, another inspiring Hudson Valley woman in business. After a hiatus to produce her family, Mary Stuart moved to New York's Hudson Valley and founded Stockade Works, a 501c3 local crew, training, and mentorship program, and Upriver Studios, a woman-led sustainable production facility. She is also co-founder and resident director of Storyhorse Documentary Theater Project. In 2019, she, Alexander Brodsky, and Cassandra Del Vicio founded Quality Pictures, a Hudson Valley-based production company to create quality entertainment for social impact, amplifying diverse voices, and innovating production practices to create a positive work-life balance.
Hi, I'm Mary Stuart Masterson, coming to you from my home office in the Hudson Valley. Happy to honor women in business of the Hudson Valley. I feel like I never could have really predicted that I too would be a woman in business of the Hudson Valley, given I've spent all my life as an actress and writer, director, producer, really more on the art side of things. I was born into a show business family. At age 7, I appeared in my first film, The Stepford Wives, which is a dystopian feminist thriller in which my father had been cast as the creepy bad guy who was a little too easily convinced to turn his cool women's liber wife into a robotic, bigger boobed version of herself. I played his daughter. During my senior year in high school, I was cast in my first real major role in a feature film called Heaven Help Us. And then over the next 20 years, I starred in over 30 films, including Some Kind of Wonderful, At Close Range, Immediate Family, Fried Green Tomatoes, Heaven's Prisoners, Benny and June. And on stage, I was in the Broadway revival of 9. I met my husband in Washington, D.C., in the Tennessee Williams play Cat on a Hot Tin Roof at the Kennedy Center. I moved to the Hudson Valley in 2006 when I directed my first feature, The Cake Eaters, starring Kristen Stewart and Bruce Dern. I fell in love with the area, but living here full-time has really changed my perspective. I spent all my life basically acting and on the road, and it was really hard to build a sense of community that way. I found myself missing birthdays and bar mitzvahs and, having a hard time finding that life-work balance. I wanted to try to bring opportunity to the Hudson Valley and not just live here and then go elsewhere to work. My vision was to create a new economic engine for the Hudson Valley, a media ecosystem. So I founded Stockade Works along with Beth Davenport, a nonprofit that is focused on workforce development, access, and inclusion for Hudson Valley residents, preparing them for careers in film and television. We're here to train local residents and then provide them access to quality jobs with avenues for growth. I also founded Upriver Studios, which opens this year. It is a 104,000 square foot production facility and attract more business to the region. So I'm here to talk about leadership, specifically female leadership. I think we're in a time in history when obviously the sky's the limit. We have our first ever female vice president, no less a woman of color and of Indian descent, coming into the vice presidency in January. And so women and girls are able to imagine a future that looks like that for the first time in history. I think that the best advice I could give a woman in business would be dream big. It's free. A leader has to stick to the vision, has to maintain an objective view of the whole and keep their eye on the prize, and hopefully inspire the people who work for them and the people who are going to invest in their business to follow them. It's not a one-person enterprise being a leader. It's by definition a relationship. A founder should be able to step back and let the team thrive. My father was a wonderful director, and one thing that he taught me was that, being a director is one of the greatest jobs there is, because you're a leader, you're the boss, essentially, you're the coach of the team, but you have to let the team, the actors, the creative team, come and bring you presents. He said, come and let them bring you presents, and then you get to take credit for the good ideas. Ha ha. You also have to take credit for the failures. I feel like we might finally be at a moment where women can support each other and be constructive with each other without only competing with each other, that we can honor each other with events such as these. We can build bridges to a younger generation for young women to ascend to positions of power as well. It isn't easy to be a woman in business, even today, even with Kamala Harris about to be vice president. It's hard personally to find a life-work balance. It is hard, especially if you have a family. It's hard on your family when you're struggling to get a startup off the ground, or a nonprofit, or a startup nonprofit, or a production company, all of which I've been doing in the last 4 years. And beyond the challenges and sacrifices it takes, it also requires a kind of inner stick-to-itiveness. My mom always said stick-to-itiveness is having a vision and sticking to it. That doesn't mean that you don't adapt, that you don't collaborate, that you don't work as a team. Quite the opposite. It just means that somebody has to have their eye on the vision and never give up. Especially now in a pandemic and trying to balance homeschooling 4 kids and running 3 companies. I personally I feel like this challenge is just front and center every day. How do you find the life-work balance? How do you maintain your stick-to-itiveness, your vision? How do you stay constructive over critical? And how do you try to live in the possibility and the potential rather than in the sense of scarcity and fear? And you can't really get anything done when you're focused on how you might fail. You can't really accomplish big things if you think small. It is a pleasure to have this opportunity, though I feel like I'm a little bit in a confession booth. I would love to do this in person next time. I just want to congratulate the honorees on their resilience, their leadership, their strength, and wish them the very best in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Mary Stewart. And now a word from our sponsor, Nuvance Health.
We believe there's promise in having a better outlook, in staying sharp and noticing everything so you can focus on what really matters. This is where a new perspective moves healthcare forward. Nuvance Health.
Hudson Valley Magazine's Women in Business honorees are chosen through an online ballot where our readers nominate their colleagues, friends, or family members, or themselves. The ballot is open from November through August, when we close it to select the finalists. This year we had a record-breaking 200+ nominations, which is nearly double the usual amount, perhaps due to everyone's desire to bring something exciting and positive to a very challenging year. Speaking of something good, the honorees will be receiving a special award box, if they haven't already, which includes great items from our sponsors, including a complimentary Avita Signature Facial from Marion Salon and Spa. And at last, I'd like to introduce the 2020 Women in Business honorees. Our first honoree is Ann Armater, Senior Vice President of Development at the Foundation for Vassar Brothers Medical Center. Ann founded the foundation in 1986. Since then, she has generated approximately $100 million in gifts, including the recently concluded $30 million campaign for the medical center's new patient pavilion.
My job is all about developing relationships with people throughout the community who we hope to inspire to support Vassar Brothers Medical Center. The challenge of development is convincing people that giving away money is a good idea. Often people don't think about the fact that they can make a contribution and that it actually makes a difference. And part of the challenge is to show people that their contribution does in fact make a significant difference to the quality of healthcare coming out of the hospital. I've been at Vassar Brothers Medical Center for almost 35 years, and I have loved every day of being there. My children have been born there. My husband and I have both had healthcare issues taken care of there. I love raising money for Vassar Brothers Medical Center because it really has become a central part of my life personally and professionally. The COVID pandemic has put us in a position of talking with people and having them truly understand how important it is to have a good hospital in their community. My philosophy, I think, has always been just be genuine. If you're genuine, people will believe in you. In the field of development, you need people to believe that what you're telling them about the hospital is true. Be genuine.
Our next honoree is Michelle Babcock, Managing Partner at Jacobowitz and Gubitz LLP. As a partner at the Hudson Valley's largest full-service law firm, Michelle runs the firm's operations and practices municipal land use and environmental law, historically a male-dominated field. She studied comparative constitutional law under the Honorable Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and in 2019 was recognized as an outstanding women in law by Hofstra University.
I'm Michelle Babcock. I'm the managing partner of Jacobowitz and Gubitz. We're a full-service law firm serving the Hudson Valley for over 50 years. We have 20 attorneys practicing in over 35 areas of the law. My daily responsibilities include managing the firm, as well as practicing law and taking care of my 3 small children. Every day is a new adventure for me. I really need to always make sure that I'm prioritizing and making sure that I'm very organized. I really couldn't do it without the support of my family, as well as having a good team that I can rely on to get the job done. The best piece of advice that I've received is that as long as you believe in yourself, you can do anything you put your mind to. I'm not sure that you use it every day, right? Sometimes you need to remind yourself to believe in yourself and then refocus. I think the pandemic has really taught us all to take a pause and take a break and reflect on what's really important. I think everyone can agree that it's so important to give back, not only to our community, but to really look at our work-life balance. As far as the challenges go, I think that I have learned to perfect wearing a suit jacket and sweatpants at the same time on Zoom while being home with my husband and 3 children.
Our next honorees are Shelley Boris and Kimball Gell, co-owners and founders of Fresh Company and Dolly's Restaurant. Shelley cut her teeth at NYC's just opened Dean and DeLuca in the 80s, worked as a chef and private caterer, and published recipes in Food and Wine and the New York Times before relocating to the Hudson Valley. She and good friend and business partner Kimball Gell met when their children became friends in school. Kimball, a Hudson Valley native, graduated from SUNY Albany with a degree in economics and spent more than a decade on Wall Street before moving to Garrison. Shelley and Kimball are now co-owners of Fresh Company and Dolly's Restaurant. Fresh Company provides food service and off-premises catering to local and big-name clients.
My job responsibilities at Fresh Company and at Dolly's do vary a lot. I work closely with my partner Kimball Gell when we're talking to new clients, when we're budgeting, when we make important new hires. In general, I would say my main areas are in operations. I am, of course, my background's in food and in cooking, and I've spent years cooking and expediting when Dolly's first opened. I think the best piece of professional advice that I've ever received was from my father. He stressed high standards, that everything you did as well as you possibly could. And if it came down to it and you were supposed to, let's say, deliver a product on Tuesday, and Tuesday the product wouldn't be perfect, deliver it on Wednesday. That it was quality over timing, quality over everything, that everything you did, looking back, you could take responsibility and be proud of. Standing by your product, standing by your staff, standing by the level of service and quality that you want to present is the most important thing that you can do to maintain a business over the long haul.
Our next honoree is Satara Brown, founder of Rebuilding Our Children and Community, Inc. In addition to founding Rebuilding Our Children and Community to meet the needs of low-income families in Dutchess County, Satara is employed as a youth worker in the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department's Juvenile Division, the director of an early learning community, a board member of the Poughkeepsie Schools Foundation and the Salvation Army, and is a master's student at John Jay College of Criminal Justice.
My name is Satara, and I am the founder and CEO of Rebuilding Our Children and Community, Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit organization. My responsibilities are implementing programs for the youth of Dutchess County, as well as putting together outreach events for children and families. I work in partnership with many of the other nonprofits in the area, with community members, local government, and anyone who's looking to volunteer or be a part of something that's actually really big around here. One of the biggest contracts we have is with the local school district, and when school was over, our after school program was over. So we decided to take the summer off from our summer camp to work towards pivoting to this new norm. So we are working on actually having our own center for our youth that is specifically for our kids, and they'll be able to go there year round. My advice to the next generation of women leaders is to know your worth. Always know your worth. Never settle for less than what you deserve.
Our next honorees are Sage Carter, General Manager of Hudson Hall, and Tambra Dillon, Executive Director of Hudson Hall. Sage joined the Hudson Hall at the historic Hudson Opera House team in 2015 as General Manager after spending many years as a production designer for Broadway and off-Broadway shows, as well as many other live events. In 2017, following an $8.5 million restoration, Sage and Executive Director Tambra Dillon ushered Hudson Hall into a new era of high-caliber artistic and community programming. Tambra was hired as co-director of Hudson Hall in 2013 after a long and distinguished career working in the arts in New York City, including positions with BAM and the Cunningham Dance Foundation, working on the Merce Cunningham Dance Company's Legacy Tour. She and Sage have remained committed to Hudson Hall's mission of maintaining its treasured landmark building, supporting the arts, and playing a pivotal role in the economic advancement of the City of Hudson.
I'm Tambra Dillon, Executive Director at Hudson Hall at the historic Hudson Opera House in Hudson, New York. It's a multidisciplinary performing arts center and cultural center for the community. Our mission is to reflect and respond to serve the Hudson community and the community within the region. We're a small staff of 5 and there's a lot of moving parts, but that's also what makes it exciting. It's a group effort to make it all happen and serve the community. My first boss told me once that responsibility is earned and not given. That just really spoke to me. If you see something that needs to be done, you do it, you make yourself invaluable. That advice has always served me so well. When my colleague and I, Sage Carter, the general manager, learned that we'd been selected, we were floored and flattered. It caught us off guard. It's not our personal style, and we are, in fact, normally in the position of identifying who we can honor. So it was truly an honor, and we're still processing it.
Our next honoree is Gina D'Angelo Mullen, Director of Marketing and Communication at Caremount Medical. Since joining Caremount Medical in 2017, Gina has built an entirely new marketing department and has elevated marketing and communications both internally for Caremount's 3,000 employees and externally for its more than 665,000 patients. She has also played a pivotal role leading the organization's marketing efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'm Gina D'Angelo Mullen, Director of Marketing and Communications for Caremount Medical. I lead the strategy and deliverables of the marketing department for Caremount. That includes everything from internal, external communications to branding, advertising, public relations, our website, social media, and anything else that comes along our way. Healthcare and marketing are definitely challenging fields. They're always changing, but they're very rewarding. When things get a little difficult, I try to remind myself that it's a privilege to be able to communicate and connect with patients and get them the information that they need. So it's really, for me, all about perspective. The pandemic has definitely pushed our boundaries and our resilience to new heights. We're all working remotely now, so I feel it's really important to keep our team connected. We do things like virtual birthday celebrations, even a virtual baby shower, so that we all feel part of the team. I think it's also important to have compassion and understanding. We're all juggling different situations at home, so to really be mindful of that, it goes a long way with team members. My advice to the next generation of female leaders is actually what I end up telling my 2 young daughters. Work hard, stay humble, look up from your phones and connect with people in a real way, and to take a chance on yourself because you're worth it.
Our next honoree is Paige Flory, owner of Boutique Wines, Spirits and Ciders. Since Paige opened Boutique Wines, Spirits and Ciders in Fishkill 3 years ago, the trailblazing business has seen sales more than quadruple to more than $1 million and now has more than 210 ciders in bottles and cans and 13 on tap for growler refills. In 2020, the shop was named the best hard cider retailer on the East Coast by the American Cider Association and Best Cider Selection by Hudson Valley Magazine.
One of my favorite things about the job is giving people a little education and some history about the products that they're interested in. There's new products coming out all the time and new ways of making things. So really educating myself helps in that process. So I just like to read a lot about winemaking and distilling and cider making, and also to go and talk to all the local wineries and cideries and distilleries and actually learn from them. Because then I really understand what's actually happening with those products, and then I can explain that to the customer. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten was to stay ahead of the curve, and we've applied that to the hard cider segment of our store, which is a 200 bottle and can collection of cider at Boutique Wine, Spirits, and Ciders with 13 on tap. We're one of the only stores in New York State with ciders available on tap for growler fills. So hard cider is one of the ways that we try to stay ahead of the curve, and we're going to maintain that and try to maintain leadership. Changes are challenging, and just being able to pivot with what's going on, be it COVID or anything else in the industry. That's the challenge.
Our next honoree is Megan Garmers, founder and director of MG Hair and Makeup and founder and business coach and strategist of the Bridal Masterclass. Megan founded MG Hair and Makeup in 2002. It is now the oldest and largest on-location hair and makeup agency in the United States. Megan has been featured in New York Magazine and Cosmo UK, as well as on Entertainment Tonight, Good Morning America, and Today, and has also been dubbed one of the Knot's top 100 most influential wedding pros.
My job responsibilities for MG Hair and Makeup are training, hiring, and managing the administrative, the marketing aspects of MG Hair and Makeup, all of our couples and their wedding parties and the logistics of that. For Bridal Masterclass, it is really the logistics of all of the in-person events that we're able to do pre-COVID, as well as the content for all of our social media marketing and our e-learning platforms. I think the biggest way that I can overcome challenges that either I'm facing or that my team is facing really has to do with listening. If we don't understand the problem, we can't provide a good solution. So throughout COVID-19, there have been a lot of different lessons that we've learned for both of my businesses. I think the most important has to do with flexibility. Those are things that, having been in business for over 20 years, there have been a lot of different things, whether it's financial crisis or recession in 2001, that we really had to learn how to be fluid with our business. And those are things that have served us well, especially now. The best piece of advice that I would give the next generation of women leaders is really to take full control over what you feel you can provide for others around you, how you can serve needs, and really how you can keep learning, because if you ever stop learning, that's really when you become extinct.
Our next honoree is Susanna Hermans, co-owner of Oblong Books and Music. In addition to being a co-owner of one of the Hudson Valley's greatest independent bookstores, Susanna is also a past president of the New England Independent Booksellers Association and has served on the American Booksellers Association's Advisory Council, as well as their Children's Advisory Council and New Voices Committee. She considers being chosen as a judge for the National Book Award for Young People's Literature one of her greatest honors.
I'm Susanna Hermans. I'm co-owner of Oblong Books and Music in Millerton and Rhinebeck, New York. As owner of the store, I oversee a staff of about 26 people in 2 locations, as well as overseeing our online sales. And I'm also the store's buyer, so I am responsible for choosing every single book that we decide to stock on our shelves. Everything from what we want to carry to how it gets to our store, placing the orders, and doing all of that. That's what I do. My dad started our store in 1975, so I literally grew up in the bookstore. I would go to preschool, and then my dad would pick me up and take me to the bookstore and let me roam around and read whatever I felt like reading once I was old enough to be reading. As soon as I was tall enough to see over the cash register counter, I was ringing people up. So I've been doing this a long time. I think a lot of my hesitation in the early part of my career was due to my age, less so than being a woman. But that's also because the business I work in is primarily run by women. The publishing industry is heavily dominated by women. So I had a lot of role models in this business, and for that I am very grateful. But I think believing in yourself is a great place to start.
Our next honoree is Mary Ann Liebert, founder and CEO of Mary Ann Liebert, Inc. Mary Ann Liebert's eponymous business publishes nearly 100 peer-reviewed biomedical journals that are available free of charge in 108 developing countries. She was the first publisher to launch critical journals about AIDS and HIV back in 1980, and her authors, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, are an important voice in helping to address the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, as CEO and president of the company, I oversee everything. But fortunately, I have a wonderful staff, so that makes this oversight much easier. But also, I'm cheerleader in chief, and that's very important for our corporate culture. We have people who've been here for many years, and I'm very proud of that, and I like working with everyone. I'm very hands-on, but I also delegate well. I don't remember when I received this piece of advice, but it was, don't believe that there is such a thing as work-life balance, because if you're aiming for the top and you've got a major position, it just doesn't exist. And I think that was a good piece of advice because it gave me room to navigate and to do it in a way that fit with the company and at home. But there is no such thing as real work-life balance, not if you've got a big job. Run fast. Run fast, do not be distracted, don't take your eye off the ball, and do everything you can to work hard and show how good you are. Dress for the part, it's important. I'm a firm believer still in stilettos in the office.
Our next honoree is Laudalina Martinez, owner and director of Martinez Gallery. After a career in teaching and academic administration in higher education, Laudalina returned to the arts and in 2001 opened Martinez Gallery, a contemporary art gallery in Troy. In nearly 20 years, she has curated more than 100 exhibitions for the gallery and other venues, while conducting an ongoing public education program in the area of art and culture.
As the owner of the gallery, I take care of everything related to the gallery. But also as a director and curator, I select the artists, I conceive the exhibitions, I hang them, and I interact with the public. A gallery is a challenging environment because you're dealing with artists who are very unique. You're also dealing with collectors who want to expand their collections and want to do it spending the least amount of money. You're also trying to develop a clientele all the time. So those are some of the challenges. When I opened the gallery in 2001, I wanted a place for Latino artists to show their work. At that time, not very many Latino artists were getting representation in galleries. And so I always had a specialty of focus on Latino artists. And as a result, I have quite a number of excellent Latino artists who have really grown, some of whom have achieved international reputations. No matter what you get involved in, make sure that you have control. Make sure that your voice is heard. And your voice can be heard not by speaking, but by the choices that you make.
Our next honoree is Tamara Murray, Marketing and Sales Director of Emerson Resort and Spa. Tamara's rebrand and marketing strategy have led to the Emerson receiving press coverage in national media outlets, including Town & Country, NewYorkTimes.com, and BuzzFeed, a 100% increase in occupancy and 250% increase in corporate and wedding events, as well as recognition as one of the premier hotel destinations in Ulster County.
Some of my primary responsibilities are handling all of the advertisement, print, radio, digital, social media, revenue management, as well as on-property activities. My work can be very stressful. I have a fantastic and creative staff, and when they feel that I'm under pressure or I'm feeling stressed, they're always stepping in to make me laugh, and it just sets everything back to zero again. I think the best piece of advice that I was ever given was to embrace my weaknesses as well as my strengths, because a true leader knows how to be able to manage both sides of her personality to achieve the best outcomes. I think that we all come across projects where we look at them and, it's just, I really don't want to have to do this. But again, you go in, attack it, don't be overwhelmed by the big picture, accomplish it a little bit at a time.
Our next honoree is Laura Putnam, founder and co-owner of Finding Home Farms, LLC. Laura launched a home decor blog in 2010 that would grow to see 400,000 page views a month and morph into the million-dollar business that it is today. The lifestyle brand Finding Home Farms fuses traditional crafting with modern comfort and has been featured on Oprah Magazine's O List.
Hi, I'm Laura Putnam, and I'm super excited to share with you today some of my thoughts about my job and my responsibilities. My main focus is managing sales for our wholesale accounts on our gift side of the business, and then the other side is product development and marketing and creative. That said, pretty much every day I'm involved in operational side of things and management of our inventory and all of those things. So very much we all wear many hats. We're a very small company, and so we make it work as best as we can to divide out our responsibilities as needed on a day-to-day basis. My advice to the next generation of female entrepreneurs or female women in business is that you have a unique opportunity in that it's part of the conversation now. I think women of today, as they're growing up and moving their way through their careers, I think it's a really good opportunity to know that there is so much at your fingertips as part of this conversation, that the fact that you can start a website, you can start a business with third-party partners, all of the options that this generation has now created that we're now taking advantage of at this point in my career is available to young women from the beginning. And I think that just makes all the difference in the world. And I think having attention drawn to other women in business, like Hudson Valley Magazine is doing through this process, is just something to really pay attention to and know that you can be part of.
Our next honoree is Becky Thornton, president of Dutchess Land Conservancy. During her 30-plus years at the DLC, Becky has worked with hundreds of landowners to plan for and preserve their land, negotiated hundreds of conservation easements, and worked with various partners, including Dutchess County government, to raise millions of dollars to save local farms. When she started with DLC, 2,500 acres were under conservancy. Today, she could brag that she's had a hand in conserving more than 42,500 more.
As president, I am responsible for the successful oversight, leadership, and management of the organization's operations to ensure that we succeed in accomplishing our mission to preserve the scenic, agricultural, and environmental resources of Dutchess County for current and future generations. So I try to handle challenges calmly with a lot of thought, and I'm never afraid to ask for advice and input from my wonderful board of directors, my staff, and from others. My advice for the next generation of leaders is never underestimate yourself, that leaders come in all different forms, that you should follow your heart, always be true to your own moral compass and values, and to do something that you're passionate about, because then you'll never work a day in your life. We are really blessed to live and work in an amazing community here in the Hudson Valley. The people here really care about this area and the landscape and the land and all the critters that live here, and so I have been truly honored to be a part of protecting thousands of acres. It's a life's work that means a lot to me and a lot to many other people.
Our next honoree is Dorian Winslow, president of Women's Work. A former New York advertising executive, Dorian gave up the world of Madison Avenue to run a garden products company. She then set her eyes on a brand she admired, Women's Work, a garden glove company whose logo was "Strong Women Building a Gentle World." Today, she continues the empowerment side of the brand's promise and sells beautiful gloves, bags, and other garden gear to individual farmers, gardeners, and firefighters, as well as heavy hitters like Amazon, HomeGoods, and Williams-Sonoma.
My name is Dorian Winslow, and I'm the president of Women's Work. We're a company that makes gardening products and primarily gloves for women. My background's in advertising. I was in New York City doing advertising, and I decided I wanted to start my own company. I knew I was interested in gardening, and that was sort of a passion that was building. So 20 years ago, I bought a company, Women's Work, that had been in business already for 15 years. But what drew me to it really was that it's a brand. It's more than just a line of products or a line of gloves. It's really a brand. It's Women's Work, Strong Women Building a Gentle World. We really make an effort to highlight achievements of women. That's what we do in our catalog, on our website, on little hang tags on our products. We feature stories about women who are inspirational. Perseverance is very important if you're going to build a business, and you just have to stick with it and be confident and try to get to know your customer. That's one of the most important things.
Congratulations to all of the 2020 Women in Business honorees. And a special thank you to Mary Stuart Masterson for your inspirational words. Thank you to everyone joining us this evening. I'd also like to thank our sponsors. Gold sponsor, Nuvance Health. And now a word from Nuvance Health.
We believe there's promise in a raised hand and in always wearing your thinking cap to find the right answers. This is where inquiring minds move healthcare forward. Nuvance Health.
I'd also like to thank our silver sponsors, Emerson Resort and Spa, Jacobowitz and Gubitz, LLP. Special thanks to our bronze sponsors, Caramount Medical and Cabot Creamery. Thank you to our gift bag sponsors, Central Hudson, Hudson Hall at the historic Hudson Opera House, Marion Salon and Spa, Third Eye Associates, and a special thank you to our video sponsor, Enormous Creative. If you'd like to rewatch this, head over to our website, hvmag.com/WIB. And while you're there, make sure to check out our sponsors' virtual booths and virtual gift bag. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, be well, and have a great night.